In fact, as of this morning, hashtag Save TikTok had over 311 million views on the app. And while as of right now, it is unclear whether or not this app is going to be banned. I mean, as of yesterday, we still saw Trump administration members continuing to sort of speak out against TikTok, right? You had White House trade advisor Peter Navarro talking to Fox News, calling the CEO of TikTok an American puppet for China and ByteDance, also saying to expect strong action from President Trump when it comes to TikTok. But ultimately, that is where we are with this story right now. We're gonna have to wait to see what happens next. But as is, I want to know, where do you kind of land on this? Do you find yourself on the save TikTok side or the ban TikTok side? Right, regarding privacy, is it this next level thing, this Chinese Communist Party thing, or do you think it's kind of just as bad as the other American institutions and apps? Yes, no, why not? I'd love to hear from you on this one. And then, even if briefly, we should talk about the news around the NFL team, the Washington Redskins. They, if you don't know, have been a part of a decades-long debate around team names, many considering the name to be racist and offensive towards Native Americans. We've seen in the past the team's owner Dan Snyder kind of swatting away those criticisms, saying that the name, it represents honor, respect, pride. But the big news today is that Dan Snyder appears to have gone on this journey of introspection. He had a change of heart because of money. If you're not aware, the team's been facing pressure from sponsors left and right. I'm talking about big sponsors: PepsiCo, Bank of America, FedEx. You had Nike pulling their merchandise off their website. 5 days later, you had Amazon doing the same. And so today we saw the team release a statement saying, on July 3rd, we announced the commencement of a thorough review of the team's name. That review has begun in earnest. As a part of this process, we want to keep our sponsors, fans, and community appraised of our thinking as we go forward. Today, we are announcing we will be retiring the Redskins name and logo upon completion of this review. Dan Snyder and Coach Rivera are working closely to develop a new name and design approach that will enhance the standing of our proud, tradition-rich franchise and inspire our sponsors, fans, and community for the next 100 years. And I will say, personally, I'm interested to see what they change the name to. It's been interesting to see some of the recommendations out on social media. Some saying the Washington Warriors, the Washington Code Talkers, the Washington Red Tails. But yeah, for now, as far as what the actual change is, we have to wait and see. But until then, one, what do you think about this name change in general? And two, what would you change the name of the team to? But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today an awesome brought to you by Drop. You know, odds are when you're shopping, you're probably shopping online even more these days, so why not start with Drop before you shop? Drop's free app is frankly the fastest and easiest way to stretch your dollar and get rewarded for the shopping that you're already doing. You'll earn points/cash back from hundreds of brands you know, love, and spend with regularly, like Uber Eats, Safeway, and eBay, just to name a few. And Drop has over 300 plus daily deals. Right now, my favorite offer is Apple Super Boost, earning you 5x points. From now through Wednesday, you'll earn 75 points for every $1 you spend shopping the Apple offer on Drop. Maybe you're looking to buy the new AirPods Pro. You'll earn over 18,000 points when you shop this offer through Drop. And best of all, for the next 72 hours, Drop is giving y'all 10,000 points or $10 when you download the app from the App Store or Google Play and you use code PhilDeFranco. And your bonus will be deposited into your account once you earned your first 1,000 points on the app. But yeah, main thing, head on over to earnwithdefranco.com, download the Drop app, use code PhilDeFranco, and kickstart your earnings today. The first bit of awesome is if you have Hulu, you should 1,000% watch Palm Springs. And I don't want to ruin it for you because I think going into the movie without knowing what it's about makes it even more enjoyable, but yeah, recommendation. Then we got new videos, footage, and teasers around Watch Dogs Legion, as well as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and a trailer for Far Cry 6, though I think most of the reason why I'm excited about it is we got Giancarlo Esposito seemingly as the big bad, and we got some drunk history, we got a trailer for Fear City, New York versus the Mafia. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, really anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about the Trump administration and kind of just the whole Trump machine going after Dr. Fauci now. Dr. Fauci, of course, esteemed immunologist who has served as the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases since 1984. He's also been one of the leading experts on the coronavirus task force since the pandemic began. He's also become a major public figure and a leading voice on this matter. And if it feels like you haven't seen Fauci that much recently, you are not wrong. It's because, according to reports, the White House has blocked Dr. Fauci from his planned televised appearances in recent weeks, with some White House aides reportedly saying that this is because TV interviewers often try to push Fauci into criticizing Trump and his admin's approach to the virus, with one senior official saying he's not always good at staying on message. But also, according to reports, Trump is also annoyed by his public statements, with some also now pointing to Fauci himself seeming to hint at this during his interview last week with the Financial Times. And there he said, "I have a reputation, as you probably have figured out, of speaking the truth at all times and not sugarcoating things. And that may be one of the reasons why I haven't been on television very much lately." And in that same interview, Fauci also said that he has not seen Trump in person since June 2nd, and he hasn't briefed the president in 2 months. Also, on Tuesday, Dr. Fauci did a Facebook Live event with Senator Doug Jones where he disputed Trump's claim that a lower death rate showed the United States' progress in the fight against the coronavirus, with Fauci calling that a false narrative and adding,
"Don't get yourself into false complacency."
And according to reports, after that, the White House responded by canceling some of Fauci's scheduled televised appearances. But still, we saw Fauci continuing to contradict remarks made by Trump in other appearances, faulting states for opening too soon and emphasizing the seriousness of the situation in the states. And during a podcast interview with 538 on Thursday, Fauci disputed Trump's frequent claim that the United States is doing great, saying,
"As a country, when you compare us to other countries, I don't think you can say we're doing great. I mean, we're just not."
And as far as Trump, for his part, he has responded by publicly undermining and contradicting the top public health expert. During a Fox News interview on Thursday, he said that Fauci is a nice man, but he's made a lot of mistakes. Also, in an earlier interview, when asked about Fauci's claim that in his expert opinion, the U.S. was in a bad place, Trump responded,
"I think we are in a good place. I disagree with him."
And over the weekend, on Saturday, we saw this situation escalate significantly. And that's because aides to Trump circulated a list of remarks to numerous media outlets that Dr. Fauci had made in the past, with the administration officials saying that those statements had later turned out to be wrong. And that list was highly unusual, with multiple outlets saying that it basically looked like the kind of opposition research politicians do on their opponents. And in a statement to the media, a White House official said, "Several White House officials are concerned about the number of times Dr. Fauci has been wrong on things," and noted about a dozen of those remarks. This reportedly including several instances early on in the pandemic where Fauci appeared to downplay the virus, like comments he made in January that the coronavirus was not a major threat, as well as reassurances in February where he minimized asymptomatic spread and said, quote, "At this moment, there is no need to change anything that you're doing on a day-by-day basis," as well as remarks he made in March about people not needing to wear masks. Now, that list is incredibly notable for a few reasons. First of all, it's a huge deal because it is a direct attack by the Trump administration on one of its own members. But also, you had a lot of people saying the things on this list compared to what Dr. Fauci is saying now, that's not some sort of hypocrisy. That is evolving and changing your recommendation based off of new information coming in, right? Which is why we saw a lot of people condemning Trump and praising Dr. Fauci this morning with a topic trending on Twitter, with many pointing out that the statements the White House flagged were made by Dr. Fauci early on before we had more information. But as the virus spread and we learned more about it, he backtracked on those remarks and updated his views to better address public safety concerns. And while White House officials told reporters that their intent with this list was not to discredit Fauci, but to show that everyone should listen to a wide range of doctors, others saying that it was incredibly hypocritical to send out this list of statements Fauci made months ago that later turned out to be wrong. This because Trump has repeatedly and consistently downplayed the virus and actively made false claims about it, with one of the biggest differences between him and Fauci being that Trump is still actively pushing these narratives now, or essentially arguing that Fauci is doing what you're supposed to be doing. When you get new information, updated data, you should also update your opinion and recommendation, rather than doubling down on the wrong because you don't want to admit that at one point you were wrong. Also, the timing of the White House trying to sideline and undermine Fauci is notable because the United States is also right now seeing a massive spike in cases. I mean, just yesterday, Florida reported the highest amount of new cases in a single day in any state with more than 15,000. And according to reports, as of today, cases are now officially rising in 39 states. And Trump, for his part, has continued to downplay this virus as recently as this morning, retweeting a post from conservative and former game show host Chuck Woolery, who wrote, "The most outrageous lies are the ones about COVID-19. Everyone is lying. The CDC, media, Democrats, our doctors, not all but most that we are told to trust." So, there's that. I'm personally going to go with Fauci over Woolery. Call me crazy if you want to. And if I seem exhausted with this story, it's because I am. This is more of the same. You had McEnany saying today that the memo was sent out, quote, because we were asked a very specific question by the Washington Post, and that question was President Trump noted that Dr. Fauci had made some mistakes, and we provided a direct answer to what was a direct question. But it's very obvious what this was. It was a muddying of the water. If you want to call it a direct or an indirect attack on someone saying something contrary to the president. I'm reporting this news on a day where, as of recording this video, over 135,000 Americans have died from COVID-19. Meanwhile, over the weekend, we saw Trump supporters falling over themselves to talk about how the president looks so cool in a mask that he finally decided to wear. Anyway, that's where this story ends. I'd love to know your thoughts. And the last thing we're going to talk about today is actually the opposite. Not who is Trump going after, but rather who is Trump supporting. Right, and there we have to talk about President Trump supporting and commuting the sentence of Roger Stone. Right, and so one of the first things you need to know about Roger Stone as it pertains to this situation, there's a lot more to talk about there, but he was an advisor on Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. He's a longtime friend of Trump's, and he's also been the subject of a ton of scrutiny and controversy, so much so that he left the Trump campaign back in 2015. And the reason specifically why we're talking about Stone today stems from an incident that happened back in January of last year. This when special counsel Robert Mueller's office arrested Stone while conducting an investigation into potential ties between the Trump campaign and Russia. There, Stone was charged with 7 different crimes. You had witness tampering, obstructing a congressional investigation, and 5 counts of making false statements. And in November of last year, he was then found guilty on all 7 charges. And because of that, back in February, he was sentenced to 40 months in prison. A prison sentence that he was actually set to begin tomorrow, but of course, like I said, Trump commuted it. Which also isn't the most surprising thing. I mean, even leading up to this, we saw Stone openly asking for his sentence to be commuted, at one point arguing that he could die in prison. On Friday, we also saw him telling journalist Howard Fineman, "Trump knows I was under enormous pressure to turn on him. It would have eased my situation considerably, but I didn't." And then, a few hours later, we saw Trump commuting him. And this whole situation is extremely notable, even though